I'm going to start right in. My name is Jennifer Brennan. I'm here with my colleagues Omar Sanchez and Andrea Fiebig from Harper College, two colleagues who are not here with us today, Christina Willard and Martha Karavitas. We form a core group with the project we're going to be explaining to you this hour, and we're just grateful to be here. I'd very much like to acknowledge with a spirit of gratitude what I'm hearing here at the conference, sort of a confluence of some of the things that we're finding so significant, equitable work with people who are sometimes hard to reach and get into our systems, as well as collaboration that's both internal, in our case, to our community college, but also really spreads into the WIOA system in our region. And we're excited to share a lot of the things that we've accomplished over the last 2 years with a grant called Paths to College and Career through ICCB's grants of equitable career readiness and bridge transitions. So I'm going to let you know a little bit about the people that we are working with, the grant itself, and I'll be going over the agenda. I want to acknowledge that we have many people joining us remotely, and I do understand we'll get to a Q&A period towards the end, but if you do have things that you want to log as we go along, we'll be sure to address them in that period. And let me move right on to today's agenda. We are here looking at adults who are taking a very brave step. I think a lot of us come here into workforce with a passion for connecting people to the resources they need to make an impact, to grow our communities. And that is part of our purpose we want to talk to you about today. We're going to look at first a flyover of our context so that you understand where we're coming from. And then we're going to delve into the design and learner experience of the process we've been doing with our grant. So I want to say with a show of hands, the areas that you may be from today so that you can have in perspective as we move forward for the agenda. If any of you are from the adult ed system? All right, so we're going to be talking about English language learners, people who are completing our adult basic education, and think about the skills gaps that you may see that endure with some students and how a project like this might help. How about workforce area agencies? Excellent. So we hope that when you look at our community college model, you might consider not only the fact that we're legislated together, but perhaps unique ways that we can share some services and even infrastructure, like we've tried to put in place with this program. How about community colleges themselves? All right. Chancellor Juan Salgado mentioned how people don't need to know how we make the sausage, but we know that it's a sausage factory and a lot of things going on to behind the scenes to deal with people coming into our colleges who come by so many different paths, referred by workforce agencies, through our non-credit programs, through non-transferable college credit, adult ed, all the way to the credit line. And these are people we're trying to serve with our grant. Evaluators, funders, employers. All right. Well, we're very interested in knowing if some of the things we're talking about make connections to the skills gaps you're seeing, the responses that you'd like to see for workforce readiness for adults. And everyone, please, when we get to Q&A, if you have some suggestions, we're in an early stage of our project that we're trying to institutionalize at our college, and we'll be welcoming additional thoughts. So let me move forward to the flyover. So we have a Harper College context. If you're not familiar with us, we're in the northwest suburbs of the Chicago area, largely in Cook County, and you don't need to decipher this district map, but it's just to point out the complexity of our area. We have over 23 communities. We do actually have some communities that are in other counties. And while we have a Palatine main campus, we also have a satellite location in the east side of our district, which we'll talk about shortly, and we have classes given at nonprofits and in areas in conjunction even with Elgin Community College. We are an award-winning institution this year, having been acknowledged by the Aspen Institute for a top 25 colleges in the United States. And our student-related interventions and our work with partners has garnered other achievements, including completion and our association with Achieving the Dream. We were just recertified as a leader institution in that project. This region is also close to O'Hare Airport, near the Golden Corridor, major manufacturing areas, and obviously many people who come to work in our district may not live there, but are from Chicago and beyond. The Harper core team, I'll delve in just a little bit more so that you see that we are folks who get adult learners who are not on don't come to us at first with a degree track. These are non-traditional students, and we represent the areas that support those people's goals. Andrea with me is the director of adult education. And you can see the functions that we did under the grant I'll be explaining shortly. We're joined also with community education, our colleagues who are doing things that are skills-based and shorter term. They are not for non-transferable college credit. Continuing education, continuing professional education, Christina Willard, that's what we call 1.6s. The courses that are not credit could in fact be converted to credit, but that have strong curricula and prepare people for things like workforce credentials in computing, in truck driving, many other adjacent things in allied health, for example. Myself, I am the manager of the site we'll be talking about next, which is the Learning and Career Center satellite in the east side of our district. And that is particularly oriented towards adult populations. And then we have Omar Sanchez, who is our co-located with the American Jobs Center, our workforce coordinator, who is helping people access the government funds and programs that come through when they want to work with Harper College. And I just want to point out that we've got a lot of interesting strengths to serve the adult population, many of us being closely tied to immigrant experiences, to first generation among us. I think we tallied 6 languages that we do speak as a group. So we have some really valuable cultural insights that we think have played a good role in grasping some of the needs of the people that we want to serve. And then I just want to point out that this group identified during the pandemic that we wanted to find some better ways to collaborate across these areas because there are people who want to be in all of them. And we saw internal barriers. And so we actually kind of coined this the adult pivot market. People who are, oh, something happened and I need to pivot fast. What am I going to do? It's not necessarily someone who has very deliberately thought associate's degree and here's how. So if you can grasp that, we saw that was an unmet need within our college and we really wanted to reinforce it. So we were already meeting regularly before we had a grant opportunity to come across. And we've continued to work together weekly and also have been doing a lot of advocacy, both directly according to this grant and as a follow-on to the adult populations where we really want to see additional systems change. And the program base, this is the satellite center of the Learning and Career Center. It became a natural home for us to focus the Paths to College and Career program, and that is because, well, many characteristics. It was built with a mission to work with adults with barriers who needed more short-term interventions to be career ready. It was modeled, in fact, over the Aspen Institute at the time. I know Instituto had this program, Courses to Careers, where it's adequate courses, support services, and job placement. And job placement has been enhanced because this site is directly across from our relocated Northwest Suburban Cook County American Jobs Center. And many things flowed from that, including more things that Omar will talk about when he speaks about our collaborations. So delving into some of the diversity within that adult group and what they need when they do come into our view. As I mentioned before, if you're in adult ed programs, there are people who are coming through and still have some skills gaps that need to get them to employment. We've also had, as many of you have experienced in your communities, a high increase in a somewhat different immigrant demographic, often more highly educated or higher levels of English, but who also definitely need transition. Unemployed individuals wanting to re-enter the workforce, systematically marginalized groups at many different representations of the immigrant experience, those who will need that leg up to get into additional studies, and often we see people, often older adults, who may have been outpaced with technology and need to update digital skills, although they have really valid workforce experience. So these are some of the ways structurally we actually think people like this had missed connections with us and with our partners. The community college tends to have, very specific enrollment windows, whereas some of the other training providers are going to be able to have an open door. And so we've lost people in that waiting period who would have access to quality, affordable education. Limited student success supports. There are funds that go towards supporting credit students, and some of those don't adequately provide a same net to people who would come from the non-credit side of the house. So access to technology during the pandemic and other things like that would be examples. The recruitment pipeline, by the same token, tends to be admissions oriented towards credit in that structure within a community college. And so we get people attracted to us who don't have the same supports towards orientation to understand why maybe today's 4-day course could transition into a really valid, sustainable workforce credential or even career paths and credit. The individualized gaps are a problem because people in a classroom will be getting a curriculum that a teacher knows to individualize, but could they go faster if they have assessments that tell them exactly what their plan forward is? And that's one of our tools. And people who have been out of the workforce for some period of time and are reintegrating, really just the landscape to be explained to them, that can be a big hurdle, especially if they're not having access to people who have that information. And of course, basic needs barriers. So the Learning and Career Center happens to have a student food pantry and many other direct interventions that go along with basic needs support to our main campus and referrals to our community. So that was also another reason for a good home. To talk to you about what the grant and the basic model is. Looking at equitable career readiness, we wanted to create on-ramps for adults who would normally come into these areas that are siloed into these, our colleagues' areas of expertise. We were looking at digital literacy gaps and other things that will be explained shortly, but our focus in our first year was doing a needs assessment of our actors and of the people who provide their services. We went ahead and focused on 3 in the first year and then 4 sectors in terms of offering shorter courses and other articulated things to get people experimenting with career pathways. Developed a guided basic skills tutoring lab that I will also let my colleague explain in greater depth, and marketed and launched this for a second 6 months of 2022, having courses that didn't exist before being offered at our school. Tuition support throughout has been very generous thanks to this grant, and it continued in the current year where you're going to see some information about, really we've completed a first quarter of reporting, and that's why I mentioned when you can consider ways that we may want to build to have good data, I'll be very eager to hear your thoughts. And yes, we added the tech sector in year 2. This is a map that oversimplifies, to the best of our ability, some of the ways that a person can come in to paths. And we'll show this at the end too in the Q&A period so that you can take a look back, but it is not meant to be linear. These things could be done in succession, but we may have someone coming in at different points. So we have English language adult education basic skills, tutoring, advising, and self-directed study, which we built in this experience. community education skills training, that is our non-credit, but career-oriented shorter courses. Continuing professional education career training, that is the 1.6, the traditionally non-transferable, but increasingly so, credit classes, and academics, certificates, and degrees in our more traditional on-ramps at the college. That is the end of my part. I'm going to make a transition to my colleague, Omar Sanchez, and he and Andrea are going to talk more in depth about various aspects of design and our learner experiences.
Okay, so we're going to talk about the collaborative design, which involved so many internal and external partners that are all part of we're all part of the same mission to serve the workforce and to help develop the skills that workers need to serve the employer's needs as well. Let me use the clicker. So here is just a list of our internal and community partners. So within Harper, we involved several, beyond the 5 core members that Jennifer talked about, the 5 departments. We also involved other teams to make this possible. And that included, the admissions department, helping us, use their systems to enroll these students, working with IT, because we realized that, in order to put our students into all these different courses, they would have had to fill out 5 different applications and deal with 5 different systems. So we had to develop some better system to do their intakes, to take their information, and then work behind the scene to enroll them where they had to go. And then marketing. Marketing helped us, with developing postcards. They showed us how to build the website for our program. The library, with distributing Chromebooks and giving people hotspots when they needed that. The registrar and, so many different departments working together. And I'm just going to give you some examples of some of the tasks that we worked with together with our core team and how we made it possible. So, first of all, we wanted to identify the needs. We had to do a needs assessment to find out what gaps there are in skills. And so for that, we had advisory information sessions where we invited faculty and then our community partners. So we had, DRS, our WIOA Title I partners, and community organizations. Everybody provided feedback as to what skills the community needs, and also our institutional research department, provided with us a lot of data that was previously collected from businesses. And basically the goal of this project was to help individuals get the basic skills they need, some training so that they can go on to new careers or go into credit programs to complete a certificate, degree, and then get a career. And so being so short, we had to do this so quickly and all that. As we were developing the process, our program, we were continuously surveying the students' needs and seeing how things are going. And we purposely we've been meeting every single week to talk about how things are going and making changes and tweaks as things go along. And so some of the changes, involved changing the schedules. We were realizing that students couldn't go to certain classes because the way their work schedules worked, So we eliminated like classes in the middle of the day, for example. We also had to work together to build courses that would build up from each other, but that wouldn't clash. So those are just some examples of that. And then with the intake and onboarding process, we also had to learn how we had to tweak our language, in our information sessions and even in our forms, so that students would understand, more of what we're offering, and help them understand why they needed these courses. And so some examples, just with, with our business math and our grammar essentials, at first they were not very well received. Individuals just didn't feel like they needed that, or maybe that was too much for them. They're like, oh, basic business math. So by changing our language and giving them a little more information, we actually oversold those classes. We had more individuals interested than we had seats available, and we had to create new sections. But that was only possible from meeting, collecting the feedback data and meeting every week to talk about what's going on, and also having that flexibility with different departments, the non-credit side more specifically, to make changes as we needed. And, and then also our community partners, so even before we started in this project, we had good relationships with our WIOA partners. And we thank a lot for that. Scale It, which was formerly known as Chicagoland's Literacy Coalition, and they are the one-stop operator for our local area. And so Scale It organizes a meeting every month where all the partners come together and we talk about what we're doing. We give each other updates, and also we network and talk about issues and see how we can help each other. And so before we started with this project, we engaged with Scale It and some human-centered design training and developing good processes to make the North Suburban Cook County American Job Center a more welcoming environment for job seekers. And also from these meetings, we learned about the needs, especially during the COVID pandemic, to have events where, there would be more spacing. And we offered our space at the Learning and Career Center. And so we, then started having job fairs and career events, connecting employers with job seekers. And so then when we started with this project, we involved our partners with it too. So in these job fairs and career events, we would tie that with info sessions about our Paths to College and Career program. And then on the other way, we were referring students to WIOA. So if the individuals just needed career services, they would go straight to WIOA for resume assistance, et cetera. If they were ready just to go into training, they would apply for ITAs. But then the WIOA partners would send students to us because they were struggling, like with completing their applications, their intake applications. The IDES partners in the ES, which is Employment Services, when individuals came in and couldn't fill out their employment application, that was a red flag, like, hey, they need digital skills. And then RESCA workshops. So when they would call, for those of you that are not familiar with what RSCA or RESCA is, it's It's basically something that IDES does where they call individuals that by some magical algorithm, the computer identifies as maybe needing more assistance to get back to work. And so IDES would refer some of their RECIA clients to our program. And so we would quickly engage them and give them skills. So that's just, basically some examples of how internally and externally we collaborated. And here's just some pictures of some of the events we had at the Learning Career Center, where we, invited employers and our WIOA Title I and Title IV partners, IDES. And so we just got everybody together there, and again, tied with this, we had our info session. So there you could see Biz at the top, who's here. And Sylvia at the left over there, she is the Employment Services Manager at our local IDES office. And, and then our disability, access and disability services staff from Harper College. And so from this, we just had more events and things like that. Our collaboration has just been so much deeper. And I mean, for all that, I mean, I just really want to say thank you. Thank you very much for making this happen. But now I want to move you and just to walk you through the learner process. How our students go through this program. And to begin, it's our basic guided skills tutoring lab. So this is something that we started at the Learning Career Center, where students could just come in and start any Tuesday, any Thursday between 9 and 12. There is no, they don't have, it's not a class. So, if they only go one time or they could only come once a month, that's fine. Some students come 2 times a week, and they've been doing this religiously, and that's great. But in this tutoring lab, we're using 2 software programs to help assess their basic skills with computers, with math, reading, and writing. So for computer digital literacy, we're using a software called North Star. Excuse me. And North Star Digital Literacy is a program that helps them assess their basic skills. So some individuals start learning how to turn on the computer, what the printer is, what a flash drive is. Some individuals go into learning the basics of Word, Excel, PowerPoint, Outlook, etc. How to be a good consumer online. When they take these assessments, North Star creates personalized lessons plans. And when they accomplish the goals, they actually receive a certificate. They take a proctored exam and they get a certificate. With essential education, we could plug in either their TAFE scores if they already took a TAFE test, or they could do an assessment on essential education to identify very specific skill gaps with math, reading, and writing. And again, they work at their own pace and to accomplish their goals. And it's nice to see that some individuals come with very little confidence. They feel like, oh, I haven't been to school in like 20 years or more. And so they just don't feel confident with their basic skills. But after doing the assessments, they actually feel a lot more confident because they do a lot better than what they thought. So some individuals only go there for a few weeks, and some have been there a few months. That's the beauty of this, that they could be there as long as they want to and go at their own pace. So now I want to tell you about the next stage, which is the instructor-led basic skills. And this is where several of these courses were developed for this program by our community education and community professional education departments. So to start off with, there's basic business math. And with basic business math, they learned, fractions, decimals, percentages, but also some very important functions that people come to realize later that they need. Like they need to know how to do calculate taxes, markdowns, discounts, interest rates. Many individuals before they just felt like I don't want to do basic math because either they felt like, well, it's too low, or like they just hated math. However, later we start getting referrals of it, and some individuals coming in because were realizing how much math is important for them, because they were like trying to learn Excel, but trying to put all those formulas, it was not working without understanding the standard operations of Excel. And some individuals were like interested in real estate, but they couldn't pass the real estate exam because they couldn't calculate the interest rates and things like that. With grammar essentials, they're learning how to create nice professional business letters, how to communicate professionally. In the professional skills intensive course, they're learning communication skills, time management, collaboration, leveraging technology, and solving workplace problems. And then with the computer skills, they're learning all about Microsoft Office. They go all the way to the intermediate level. When they complete all those courses, they actually earn a digital badge from Harper College, which is a micro-credential that they could put into their resume or their online profiles. They also learn about job search, how to look for jobs online, have a positive online profile, things like that. And then for those that are undecided on their career pathways, we also have an in-depth career exploration course where we use interest inventories, personality surveys, etc., and it's instructor-led. And it helps them define a career pathway. And then we have the industry-focused courses. So some individuals come in knowing what they want to do. Some first go through the career exploration to start, exploring somewhere. And with this grant, we focused on 4 sectors. One is business, healthcare, and social services, TDL, transportation, distribution, logistics, and then technology. So with our business, they're taking things like QuickBooks, payroll, sales, healthcare and social services. They could take a free course on CPR. We had some individuals that used to, basically completed nursing training before in another country or here in the U.S., but have been out of the workforce for a long time. So they needed refresher skills. And so our CPE department has this course that helps them get refresher skills so they can go take back those exams. We also have pharmacy tech, dental assistant, and activity assistant trainings. And those trainings lead automatically to employment opportunities in healthcare. And then with TDL, we offer 3 short courses in supply chain management. And in those 3 courses, they learn all about an overview of supply chain, distribution, warehousing, and manufacturing trends. When they complete the 3 courses, they earn a digital badge that they could add to their resume. Students could also learn about forklift. It's a 4-hour course, and they could get a credential and learn how to operate a forklift. They also learn about OSHA safety. So whether they want to work in a warehouse, manufacturing, even retail, and any environment, they could get a credential to demonstrate that they could work safely. We also have a partnership with PACE, which is the suburban bus transportation company in our area. And with that, they can take a 2-week CDL Class B course at Harper College, and that helps them get a job with PACE. So it's fully paid by PACE, and there's an immediate job with that. And then finally, with technology, students can take introductory courses to IT. They can learn about web design, AutoCAD, programming, solar installation and sales, cybersecurity and data. This fourth sector of technology we added this year because there are just so many opportunities. It's in very high demand in our area. There are low barriers for entry, and and the wage potentials are just very high. And also, as we were going through this grant, we started getting a lot more immigrants from Ukraine and Venezuela, and we're realizing that a lot of those individuals have technical skills. They're highly educated and they used to work like in IT and engineering. So, and they also have a very high level of English proficiency. So with these courses, they're basically learning the technical English that they need to be able to work here. And so that's just something that was very interesting, and it was not part of the original design, but it's interesting to see how it's helping that community. So now we're gonna just walk you through a few some profiles, some success stories of students participating in our program. The first person is Linda McGee, and she is an adult education student who is very close to getting her GED, and she passed all the exams now except the math. She's been struggling with math, but she's using our free guided basic skills tutoring on Tuesdays and Thursdays, using Essential Education to identify her precise skill gaps. And then she's working with the tutor there for additional reinforcement and all that. She's very determined to get her GED this year. And when she's done with that, she would like to continue at Harper College to take hospitality management courses. Prior to coming to us, she worked many years in hospitality, but was laid off during the pandemic. But with that being off, she thought, let me update my skills. And so I'm going to play a video here so you can hear her words.
It has been a great struggle. I have passed 3 other tests. Math has been a stronger challenge for me. I'm still trying. I would have taken the test and I didn't pass. It's difficult, but it's good. I have a lot of people that's helping me. We have the Essential Learning. It explains to me what to do when I make an error. I have tutors that help me. A lot of times I'm not understanding everything. It has been times that I wanted to just quit. But every time I feel like quitting, I end up coming back because I'm determined I will have my high school diploma this year. And if all else fails, I will be right back doing this again until I get it. It has.
All right. So that's Linda, and then we have Joanna, who immigrated from Poland 20 years ago, but she was working in a job for 18 years here. Got laid off, but she was not really working, using all the skills and her potential she has. So she decided to come back to school. So she actually first applied for WIOA, and she came to Harper asking to be enrolled in accounting courses. But as I was helping her, she realized she felt intimidated, because she's like, I have to go back to work, and I would really like to take online courses, but I'm not good with the computer. So she benefited from the tutoring lab, using the North Star to focus on those basic digital skills. And also, although I say her English is awesome, she did not feel that confident, so she used Essential Education to work more on her reading and writing. But just like I thought, she did much better than what she thought she would do. And so then she enrolled in our free instructor-led courses, and she took, Intro to Accounting, and right now she's taking QuickBooks and payroll accounting. And when the summer semester starts, which is in like 2 weeks, she's going to start a 29 credit accounting assistant certificate. And that is being funded by our WIOA 7 partners using WIOA funds. And then we have Asfa, who immigrated from Sudan in 2002. She also, she was out of the workforce for a long time because she was taking care of her children. And although in Sudan she had a bachelor's degree in philosophy, she wasn't able to really use it here in the United States, and she was only working part-time in retail. And she came to us and wanted to know what she can do to make her life better. She wanted to start a career path, and also she wanted to set an example for her teenage children. And so she also participated in a guided basic skills lab. She got computer skills in that lab and the instructor-led courses. And with grammar essentials and everything, she's increased her proficiency in English. She feels a lot more confident. And now she is in a credit administrative assistant certificate program at Harper, funded by WIOA. And she wants to keep perfecting her English. And so she applied for scholarships at Harper that are paying for more intensive academic ESL courses. And so she is so excited that now she has placed into the college level 101. And even though it's not required, she says she's going to take it anyways because she wants to challenge herself and prove that to her children. Her son is now also a Harper student this year. He's a freshman. And then we have Martin, who, he used to work as a shipping supervisor and got laid off in February. His problem is that he immigrated from Belize and does not have documentation about his high school diploma. And like many immigrants we're working with, it's very difficult to get those transcripts, documentation, and then getting it evaluated. So for him, he feels like he just needs to get his GED, and we're helping him get that through the basic skills lab, using Essential Education. And he's taken some grammar essentials, the basic business math. He's taken the 3 courses about supply chain, and also an importing and exporting course where they learn about the codes of federal regulations, related to trade. And so he's been just amazed about how much information he's gained out of these courses. Because even though he worked in shipping, there were so many back-end processes that he didn't understand, but now he's understanding better. And it actually increased his interest more in supply chain. And so he's now working with WIOA to enroll in our supply chain management certificate program. So, so those are just some examples of the successes, and now I'm passing the torch to Andrea, who's
So thank you. My name is Andrea Fiebig. I'm the director of the adult ed program at Harper College, and I could listen to Omar all day, those student stories. I think you can tell with the smile on his face that he is really the key to this project. I don't think we could do it without him. He's the ear. These students, these potential students need a lot of more attention than the normal kids coming in from high school to the college. So thank you, Omar, because you can just tell. I could listen to you all day. So hopefully we've given you a little bit of a picture of what we're in the middle of with this project. It has been as my predecessors have said, it's been a long and developing relationship, which also included in the middle of this the fact that we didn't mention it, I don't think, the North Suburban American Job Center, which is our big American Job Center, is right now across the street from this Learning and Career Center. So that made a lot of collaboration during the pandemic even easier. The other thing that we knew some of these gaps existed already because of that, and in addition, throughout the pandemic, the college was administering the TABE test. So that's the test that I think it's Title I would administer to decide if the WIOA funding, if the student is ready for some training. So there's a certain level they have to meet. I can't remember exactly what it is, but if they were too low, where are they going to go? So we were discovering this gap, and this potential for this grant came along. In fact, as Omar explained, I, as adult ed person, I really didn't think many adult ed students would take advantage of this because, as you know, as adult ed providers, we're doing a lot of this within our adult curriculum, whether it's the digital literacy or the bridges to different things. Yet things have happened where we all of a sudden, where we used to have maybe a group of 20 people finishing our top level of English as a second language because of their backgrounds, basically. Now we have a very highly educated immigrant potential workforce ready to go and feeding into the jobs in our area through the Ukrainian and Venezuelan influx into our area. So, this is a boring slide. Oh, I went backwards. Okay. So just very quickly, so this grant, some of you know it's the IBT grant, the Innovative Bridge and Transitions Grant, was a grant that we wrote. The first half of a year was probably pretty much development, focus groups, needs assessments. So we really only we were maybe serving 90 students in that first academic year. We're right now in the first quarter. This is a calendar year grant, so we just finished our first quarter, and things are exploding. The word's out. Most of our, and that's going to be our challenge, most of our current funding is going toward tuition. So obviously, when you say to students free classes, that's kind of an easy sell. So word is out. Our challenges are going to be as we move ahead. But we are continuing to see a continuing amount of students that go into the self-directed tutor as they need. We expanded in the second year into another. It's an AJC satellite site that we work with where we have adult ed classes as well as in Hanover Park. So that tutor is there waiting for those drop-ins. I saw it as an adult educator as an opportunity to do something a little more creative, and I don't have to worry about the 40 hours pre and post test. We can meet students' needs immediately. It's sort of a whole, some of us talked about this before, as a kind of a holding space for them, not necessarily for the basic English, but maybe for the higher English language. And as you saw, Linda McGee is a GED student as a native English speaker. At Harper College, we do not do Spanish GED, so everybody kind of feeds in toward, if they need that high school diploma, toward English GED. So kind of what we are learning as we go, as we address here in the key takeaways, are that this collaboration, both internally and externally, is essential, obviously, to progress. We would not be able to offer all of these offerings to the students, and I think we brought a lot of knowledge about our community to the upper echelons of our college as they kind of struggle with how our demographics in our community college district are changing. Workforce participation, obviously, as we're doing this grant, we're in a labor market that is so open. So it's a really, sometimes it's a challenge to keep the student long enough in the course in order to finish it before they can get a job. So we're dealing kind of with that perfect storm as well. So workforce participation definitely does increase. As we know, this type of non-traditional community college student does usually have a family and needs a job as quickly as possible. Another thing you all know too, the shift toward technology. Obviously, we were in a human-centered design project, and the big thing was our students in the middle of the pandemic needed to know technology. So that took a big shift, and as we're not going to let go of that, whether it's in the adult ed program or as the college, and so these technology investments are worth it, and this individualized learning will continue as we hope to sustain this beyond the grant. As Omar mentioned too, these we're calling internal champions. Our college has tended to do a lot remote. However, all of us in this project know the commitment we need to make with face-to-face with the students. So in person and all of this, what's called back office, takes a lot of support with these students. So that investment is necessary. The other thing is we're helping our college increasingly meet their DEI, diversity, equity gaps as they look at the students and their backgrounds. So this was just one way. This is just a snapshot of the continuing professional education program as it meets the needs of more, as you can see, first generation, which in our area is mostly immigrant population, and then that breaks down. So we've just helped one particular program, but we know as a college we've helped, and we will be, as we move forward, trying to get money to sustain this from the college, addressing that issue with them. So looking forward, and this is again, as Jennifer addressed, something we're going to shortly be in Q&A, but this is to me the hardest part of this grant. This idea of we've created some smoother pathways for non-traditional students, and how are we going to continue them without this money? So institutionalizing those paths to college and career, integrated processes, even just the fact that others in the college, the advisors, the systems that are created to onboard those kids coming in from the high schools that get their regular high school diploma, all of that is set up, and sometimes even within our college, those advisors don't even understand that we have these short-term programs, which in fact the community are asking for. So we have a lot of work ahead of us in this, and we're calling it seamless advising towards credit as well, because ultimately we do want them to aim to go forward to credit. We hope the CE, which is the continuing ed and the continuing professional education collaboration, will continue. They have learned, they're not here today, but I think they've learned a lot about adult education and how we schedule around people's working schedules. So I think that they're scheduling, as Omar said, maybe not in the middle of the day when people are working. I think that has changed a little bit. So hopefully we can continue that. And then we right now, and it's really because of the influx of immigrants from Ukraine and Venezuela, right now we are doing a special transition with in-face advising for all of our 150 leaving us, graduating top-level ESL students, so that they can find their way into their next steps. It might be this continuing professional education. It might be taking what we call a college and career success bridge class through adult education that hopefully is getting them ready for, those of you know, ICAPS classes in the fall, which in our case, we only have credit associated ones. So we have just a special project, and that's pretty indicative of what happened immigration-wise in our area. And then continuing to work with Scale Lit, our one-stop operator now, who is developing a system of referrals so we can, as it says here, close that feedback loop, because we really want to increase the number of students served by all the titles that they are eligible for. So the idea of co-enrollment, perhaps you're in Title II at the same time as you're in Title I, that is definitely, we're moving forward for that. In fact, we have a meeting about that on Monday. So wanting to thank all of our partners, some of you are in this room, for both your referrals, our collaborations that have made this possible, and all going forward, what we're going to do. So as we stated, adults that are non-traditional, adults coming into college need our creative pathways. And I think all of you have been involved with this. And as you reflect on your journey, and we're in the middle of it, so we would like to open it up for questions. I've lost track of time, maybe about 10 minutes of questions from both online and the audience. So Omar, Jennifer, and I are ready to discuss.
You had mentioned that sustainability is at the end, and that was one of the things that was why trying to figure out how you keep those programs going without supplanting the grants and stuff like that. So I was just wondering, was the institution what was looking at when you guys put the sustainability plan that they came forward and said that we were going to be part of that sustainability solution, or were you guys looking at something else?
Well, right now our trick is a lot of the money for this is tuition. But what we do have is Omar is paid for by the college, and all of the people involved are paid for by the college. It's just the tuition now. So what we're hoping comes out of this is more of those pathways are smoother, and the education to the others in the college about these other programs. We're hoping at least that part is sustainable. I don't know. Recently, the college did. It's just because of the immigrant influx. But if we throughout, if we didn't have the Ukrainians and the Venezuelans coming in the area, the question would be, would that college come up with this tuition that paid for this? So we're going to be looking to supplement Omar's to work with WIOA. I would hope that maybe I could sneak out to continue that guided skills tutoring that's drop-in. I think there's an advantage to try to sneak it out of performance funding, so let's call it braided funding. But no, the college hasn't really committed yet. That's that work ahead.
I'd like to mention, please use your Whova app since we've come right up on our hour. There's a Q&A segment. We can go right into the app and verify unanswered questions. Would you please monitor that space, and we can spend some time continuing the conversation. Could you put it on our contact slide, please? All right, if you want to take a photo of that, and this will also be available right inside the app. Thank you so much for your time today. It's been a pleasure to meet you.